Hi there, welcome to AP Psychology. I'm Ms. Schaefer and I'm here to talk to you about some ways you can improve on your article analysis questions for AP Psychology. So some general feedback based on things that I have seen so far this year is that students can improve their answers by doing these three things. First, rephrasing the question that was asked in their response can help focus their answer, making sure that we are staying on task. This will help us accomplish number 2 on how to improve, and that is answering the question that is asked. You can't just come up with your own answer, as much as it is comforting to try and write something just because you know it. Please only answer the question that is asked. That way you can see whether you have answered the question or not. And lastly, using text from the article to answer the question. This is an article analysis question, and the goal is to see if you are able to find this information and understand it from the research article. So, breaking this down point by point, I have some sentence starters that I would like to see students use when it comes to writing AAQs. You do not have to use exactly these, but these are some great ones to start. Alternatively, you can just take whatever question they have asked you, flip it back on them. But if you're not feeling comfortable in turning them into questions yourselves, you can use these ones here. So going question by question, with the research method, you should be saying, this study uses a blank research method. The following research methods are the only ones that really exist that you can choose. So we have experiments, if they're randomly assigning to two groups, having a control and a treatment and comparing the two. A correlation, if they're collecting data to determine a relationship between two different variables, but there's no random assignment of groups. Could be a case study if there's interviewing participants or multiple methods, including interviews that goes really deep into a small group or a single person. Naturalistic observation if there is no direct interaction between the researcher and participants. Keep in mind, naturalistic observation should have informed consent. We don't know if that's going to happen in the research articles that we are given. Meta-analysis could occur if the researcher is using data from other studies. They're not going to interact with participants on their own. They're going to be taking other studies that have already been completed and merging them together. Now, chances are you're probably going to see an experiment or correlation, though others could exist. College Board has published at least one example of a case study as well, so keep your eye out, and these are some of the determining factors that can help you figure out which research method is used. For the operational definition point, you do need to talk about the variable that they have given you. A lot of times I'm seeing that they are planting more than one variable and operationally defining them, and they want to see if you can stay focused and see not just about defining any operational definition, but of the one in question. So, in this, make sure that you are addressing the variable from the prompt by restating the variable from the prompt in your answer. Do not describe the entirety of the research study. They just want to see if you can talk about how researchers are measuring the specific variable in question. You do not have to come up with it on your own. It is already in the prompt, and the more exact language you use from the prompt, that text evidence, citing it almost exactly word for word, the closer you're going to be to the correct answer. For the statistical interpretation point, you are going to be given some statistical value from the prompt. We've seen means, we've seen reference to standard deviation, we have even seen maybe reference to statistical significance. So remember that stuff from Unit 1. In this, you are not just going to restate the statistic, though that can help you focus it. You are going to want to describe what that statistic means. So, say, the difference between the means in this group shows, and then describe what the two groups were and if one is higher than the other, if they are the same, if one is lower than the other. And that is going to be you interpreting the statistic and drawing meaning out of the numbers that have been given. Some statistics may be less about study values and more about the participants. So that can be how we can get some of these statistics involved when it comes to some of the non-experimental and non-correlation studies. Make sure you only discuss the statistic in the prompt. This is going to help you focus your answer, right? Make sure you are addressing the question at hand and just that question. For the ethical guidelines question, it does help for you to say the research applied the ethical guideline of, and you have your choices from the Psych or iPad mnemonic. And those are the only ones. Paying your participants is not an ethical concern. Randomly assigning your participants is not an ethical concern. And you should only be addressing an ethical guideline that is mentioned in the prompt. You can ensure that you're doing this by saying the researcher applied the ethical guideline of, insert guideline that you've chosen, and then by, say how they did it in the prompt, and that ensures that you are choosing one that is mentioned in the prompt. They don't want to see you describing things they should have done, they want you identifying what was done correctly. For the generalizability point, this one requires that you have evidence, that you describe what the sample population is like. And it is not about sampling, random assignment, etc. It is purely about the representativeness of the population that was used in the sample. So you are going to say who they are or are not generalizable to, and specify a population that they can be generalized to. It's going to be your best way to have a clear-cut answer. And then you're going to describe the sample used in the study. You can say that it is going to match people who match who was used in the study. Or you can say an entirely different group of people will not match the people who were used in the study. The more description you use, the better, the clearer your answer, the stronger it is. And for the final point, the argumentation point that is worth 2 points, remember 1 point comes from accurately describing the study results, right? So you will want to say the study results show, and then describe the results. You don't have to describe all of them, you just need to describe one of them, and you need to state clearly that it either supports or refutes the hypothesis. Right? Making sure that you use these 2 parts as sentence stems is going to ensure that you have everything you need in your answer. Alright, well, I hope that you guys improve in your AAQ writing throughout the year, and I'll give you more feedback as needed. Remember, turning the questions into your sentence starters is going to help focus your answer, make sure you're answering the question at hand, and hopefully bring you to the point that you are getting all 7 out of 7 points on your AAQ.